Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
No, we're still seeing. I'm just kidding. Yes, we've got your screen up.
All right, there might be a little bit of a lag there. All right, so hello everyone. My name is Matt Rogers. I'm a senior business relationship manager for a company called Century Business Solutions. Today, I'm going to give you just a quick intro background on us and who we are as a company, but the primary for today is we're going to be talking about PCI compliance, what it means to be PCI compliant, what it is, what different versions of being PCI compliant you can be, how to be better, and what kind of a solution we have developed specifically for Epicor to help aid in all this PCI compliance stuff. So I'll try my best to be monitoring the chat as well. If you guys have questions, just holler, let me know. That would be better for it to be more interactive as opposed to me giving a monologue, but we'll do what we do. So thanks, Calvin, again. Okay, let's get started. So who is Century Business Solutions? So Century Business Solutions, we are a payment processing company. We're a credit card processing company. We have developed our own solutions to a number of different ERP systems, and we're a little bit unique in that we are kind of an all-in-one service provider, meaning we don't just provide the credit card processing service, we also provide integration, we also provide the payment gateway. We're kind of a all-in-house, one-stop shop. We don't outsource any of our development or support anywhere. It's all done in our Irvine, California office. We've got a little over 10,000 customers. We support over 20 ERPs and a number of different shopping cart platforms as well. This 5 billion number was last year's number. I'm sure it's significantly higher than that now. We've been around since about 2004, and we've really been heavily involved in the integration space, the integration world, since probably about 2007. 2007 is when we first started with QuickBooks and Peachtree, Sage products, right, for smaller businesses, and since then it has evolved into larger ERP systems, and today obviously we're going to be talking about Epicor specifically. So we're going to be going over PCI compliance, security, those types of things. All right, so let's start out with what PCI is and why it exists. So as many of you are aware, I'm sure there's a heck of a lot of cyber fraud and just kind of fraud in general in the payment space. I'm sure all of you have had your credit cards either stolen, or your identity, or just have them replaced because of fraudulent activity at one point or another. So PCI stands for the Payment Card Industry, and the PCI Security Council is basically a self-governing body that regulates how credit card information is allowed to be transferred and stored. And so they create a bunch of rules and regulations on all those topics, and you get graded based on how you process credit cards and what your exposure or your risk is. Obviously, there are significant fines and penalties to be caught being non-PCI compliant. Now, I don't want to make it sound like there are PCI police rolling around looking for people. The only way you're going to really get caught and get fined is if something bad actually happens, and then it gets found out that you're not. Right? In our personal lives, I'm sure that many of us remember the whole Target fiasco around Christmas time several years ago when they got hacked, they got breached, and all their customers' information and credit card information got stolen. $292 million later, they're still standing, but how many small to medium-sized businesses can afford that, right? It's definitely best to be compliant so that you can't face a breach situation in which customers' credit card information is being exposed, because most businesses won't be able to recover, and obviously you don't want to be in the news for the wrong reason. Again, here are a couple of notable ones that most people know of: Capital One, Marriott, and Target, of large companies that have been breached and significant costs that have been paid because of that. But anyways, what does it take to become PCI compliant? So there's a number of different what they call SAQs, self-assessment questionnaires, that you should all be taking annually once a year that determine what kind of a merchant you are and where you fall in the compliance spectrum. Now, this is a list of all the different options, all the different assessment types, all the different PCI compliance types. We're not going to go over every single one of them because a lot of them are not pertinent to the general types of businesses and users that Epicor users are. We're going to be focusing on all really the card not present type of businesses. So people that take credit cards over the phone or via email or through some kind of e-commerce shopping cart. And we're going to kind of start at the very best and work our way down to, I don't want to call it the worst, but I'll just say the most labor-intensive compliance certificate. Okay, so the first one we're going to start with is SAQ-A. So all these different SAQs, and again, SAQ stands for Self-Assessment Questionnaire, which is how you register to be PCI compliant, and based on which SAQ you fall in, there's a series of questions and scans that you either do or don't have to do based on how you answer these questions. So all these SAQs are built around two risk parameters, which is the transmission of credit card data and the storage of credit card data. So the transmission meaning, do you obtain it in some way, shape, or form? And storage, obviously, are you locally housing it on your own system, your own network, your own server, your own place of business, all those kinds of things. So SAQ-A is kind of the holy grail, right? So SAQ-A means you do not obtain credit card information or store it in any way, shape, or form. And none of that is being done on your network. So your own website isn't taking credit card information. You are not getting it over the phone. You are not getting it via email or via fax. It's being entered by the cardholder on a site hosted by somebody else, and you are not storing their credit card information on your network system or server in any way, shape, or form. Okay, the difference between SAQ-A and SAQ-AEP is just simply AEP is used to refer to businesses who handle e-commerce, versus A is really not an e-commerce type of thing. It's more of just the card not present keyed portion. All right, so now we're going to move on from SAQ-A, which most people, 95% of people are not in SAQ-A. Most people are in SAQ-C or D. Okay, so this goes to, now we'll talk about SAQ-C. This is what most people are that are using a PCI compliant kind of out of the box solution. So SAQ-C refers to merchants who do the transmission of credit card processing, but don't actually store the data locally. This is where we find most people under this SAQ-C category. Most businesses that are storing credit card information are doing it in some, hopefully, kind of a PCI compliant way, utilizing storage techniques like tokenization to be able to store payment methods or tokens locally, and then access the credit card data off-site and have that kind of API communication to do so. But again, you're in SAQ-C because you are doing the transmission of credit card data, meaning you are physically keying the credit cards in, or the customer is keying them onto your hosted website, and you are handling that credit card information in one way, shape, or form, right? So again, you're entering the credit cards, you are processing themselves, so you have that limited risk exposure of physically having the credit card data at some point, right? Then finally, we're going to move to SAQ-D. SAQ-D is when you both transmit and store data locally. So you are the one who's entering in the credit card information, and you are the one that is storing that credit card information, regardless of whether it's encrypted or not, or whether it's locked up in a safe or not, or wherever you're keeping it. If you are storing the data in one way, shape, or form yourself, and you are transmitting the data, then you would be under the SAQ-D requirement. The SAQ-D requirement will require a ungodly number of IT-related questions and a very, very long compliance certificate to be done. It is a very, very difficult thing to do. I'm sure many of you probably are having to do this now because this is just simply the way you've done business for quite a while. yes, it's kind of a very labor-intensive thing. You still can be compliant by storing credit cards yourselves and transmitting it yourselves. You can be compliant. There's just a lot more steps that need to be taken from a security technique and how you do things and how your network is set up to actually be compliant and be registered as a compliant merchant. So that's a lot of information all at once. So I want to take a step back, see if anyone has any questions about any of these SAQs or compliance in general, any questions that they may have. I'll leave it there for 30 seconds or so and see if anyone wants to type anything or if anyone wants to say anything. Okay, looks like we're okay. Okay, so now that we've gone through that kind of brief education on PCI compliance and what the makeup is and why it exists and who you are and how you become what you are, we, Century Business Solutions, have developed a product by the name of EBizCharge. And EBizCharge is a payment application integration that exists inside of Epicor. It's a module and enhancement that we make ourselves, that we deploy and we support, that allows you to accept credit card payments, not only credit card payments, but actually also electronic check and ACH payments, both directly inside and outside of Epicor. So wherever you're at in your sales process, whether it's a sales order or an invoice or after the fact through cash receipts, you can process a payment directly inside of the software. We do store the payment information in a tokenized fashion so that you're not ever storing the credit card data locally. We also have built in, for those customers that want to be as compliant and out of scope as possible, that want to get into the SAQA range, we have also implemented a feature called Request Payment Method that allows you to fire off a one-time secure payment link to your customer so that your customer can enter in the credit card information on their side, thus eliminating the transmission portion of risk. So with our solution, you can be SAQA eligible because we have that feature. Most customers, that doesn't work for everybody. Most customers fall again in that SAQC category because again they're not storing data locally, but they don't want to make the sales process any more difficult than it needs to be. And when the customer is ready to pay, they would rather get the credit card from them over the phone than fire off a quick link to them and have them do it themselves, right? But to each their own. And then in addition to that, more so geared towards customers that are invoiced that pay later. All right, we have our own online customer payment portal that is a part of our integration. So this payment portal allows you to have your customers log on to a site that we host for you. Again, we host the site, so from a PCI compliance standpoint, you're completely out of scope, no data storage, no transmission. And on this site, they will be able to view all of their invoices, both past and present. They can make payments on the portal. Those payments will automatically sync back into Epicor and apply to the invoices that exist in Epicor. And it's also a great collections tool. You can enable different push notifications to remind customers their invoices are coming due, or when they are due, or when they're past due. There's a surcharge tool built into it for customers that want to pass the credit card processing costs along to their customers. All kinds of stuff that's included in that. But those are some of the features that we have added to our integration with compliance in mind to make sure that you are kind of being your best from a security standpoint, and we're trying to take that PCI burden off of you to fit, however you really want to do business. So again, these are some screenshots from what I've talked about. This is the internal Epicor screen processing payments inside the system itself. This is our back-end payment gateway, the tool that is actually authorizing transactions and communicating with Epicor. Our processing services offer next-day funding, and that's pretty much it. I do have one of my support reps handy if you all would like to see a live demonstration of the product and how it tokenizes cards and what the email pay looks like in the payment portal and that request payment technology looks like, we can do that. I know we do have, I think, an extra 20 or 30 minutes, but I would like to open it up for questions for, again, anyone on the PCI compliance topic, subject, or our own product and how it handles and which versions and all of those kinds of things. So I'll kind of open it up for people that do have questions. Okay, doesn't look like there's any questions. Calvin, would you like us to kind of move towards a demo of the actual product so people can see how it's handling credit card data and what compliance looks like? Oh, here we go. So we do have a question from Mike. Mike, I think you and I have talked a couple times before. So does our product, yes we have, so does our product handle multiple currencies? So currently today, our product does handle US currency, as well as Canadian currency. We have just struck a deal with a new payment gateway provider called WorldNet that will allow us to actually process any currency that you want. So Mike, we definitely need to talk again because this is going to be integrated with our products. And from what I was told actually last week off a different software, the development was complete. So we should be able to handle any kind of currency that you would like. Is this a standalone third-party option? Scott Williamson has that question. This is a standalone third-party option. So by third-party, I'm assuming you mean not Epicor. Yes, we are not Epicor. Epicor doesn't support our solution. We are an independent company. We write our own integrations. We support our own integrations, and we do everything ourselves. So there's no one else involved. We do the implementation. Again, we do the support, training, credit card processing. Everything is all done by us, not handled by anybody else. But everything is natively integrated into Epicor. In fact, there's a little screen. There's a screen here that you can literally see that this is Epicor. And again, if you really want to, if we have time, I think we have Justin Giltner on the phone from my support team. He can fire up our Epicor environment and do a live demo for you if you really wanted to see one, or we can schedule that separately. No, Scott, not Bitcoin. We do not process Bitcoin. Only credit card payments and electronic check, ACH type of payments. But no, not Bitcoin. Any other question? Good question on the currencies and multiple companies. Yes, we can definitely do that. We're actually in the process of completing a customization that will allow you to do multi-currency within the same company. So multi-merchant account in the same company with multiple currencies. That is a customization that we are enabling. Typically, currency is company specific. Which we are making a modification to because we got a customer request to do so. How is the cost of the solution costing per transaction via purchase of the solution? Great question. So typically, the credit card solution has a $1,500 one-time cost associated for the module itself, and there is a $300 annual maintenance associated with the module. Right now, during this kind of coronavirus pandemic sort of deal, in an effort to drive some business, those costs are being alleviated completely for the foreseeable future until this whole thing is over and things are back to normal. So again, typically there's a $1,500 price tag, $1,500 as a one-time cost, and a $300 annual maintenance. No other costs associated with support or implementation or training or anything like that. On the credit card processing, on the payment processing side of things, those costs can be semi-complicated, and we address them all individually. We have a finance team here that will review the current status of your merchant account, how you're processing credit cards, and see what improvements can be done. 100% of the time, every single customer that comes our way never ends up paying more than whatever they're paying right now from a processing standpoint. 99.9% of customers end up saving money on their credit card processing fees. And I can see some of the attendees that are in here, and some of them are our customers or are currently coming on board and can attest to that. Good question though. So again, typically $1,500 price tag, $300 annual maintenance. Right now, those costs are being we published something on our site a couple months ago now that saying that we weren't going to be charging for any of our solutions during this coronavirus time. So for right now, they're free, actually. I hate to use that word because it kind of devalues the software, but that's the truth. It's free right now. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any other questions. Justin, were you able to join us?
Yes, I'm on the line with you as well.
Oh, here we go. Hey, Adam Johnson has just, I don't know if you guys have all seen in the chat. Thank you very much, Adam, for commenting. Yes, their company, Wagner Companies, has just come on board with us, and they're doing implementation. So thank you very much for that shout out. I also saw Andres Sculte in here earlier. We're in the process of getting them started as well. So again, Adam, thanks for the shout out. Appreciate it.
Okay, I do believe that everybody should hear.
And yeah, and Codabears has come on as well.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so Justin, this really, I really want you to focus on compliance stuff, right? So we really just want to be less salesy and more functional. So let's show exactly how request payment method works. Let's show what email pay looks like, and briefly touch on the payment portal, keeping in mind that again, we've got about 15 minutes here.
Yeah, short for time. Okay, all right, yeah, that works. So the way that
real quick, let me just do an intro for you, Justin.
Yeah.
So Justin is one of our senior support guys. He's been with the company, Justin, 9 or 10 years now.
Yeah, about that.
Been with us for a long time. One of our very good support guys, and he's going to be kind of driving the demo. So this is the kind of level of expertise and support really you can expect from us and Justin. So go ahead, Justin.
Yeah. So in regards to a request payment method type option and the way that credit cards are tokenized even in general. So in customer maintenance, there is going to be a credit cards sub tab that you see here. In fact, let me pull somebody up really quick. Within that credit card tab, there's obviously the ability for the customer to key in the card or for the merchant to key in the card info themselves. But it would go through the EBizCharge online payment gateway to actually tokenize that card, so nothing's getting stored locally in your system ever. Now, if you want to push this off to the card holder so that they can enter their own card info, which also keeps it even more compliant because they are actually the one entering the info themselves, we have a web form, which is what you see on the right here. So if I generate the URL, this is going to send a link to the customer that allows them to enter their own card info, and it's connected back to this profile in Epicor. So if you have integrated email, you can always use that and just directly email it from Epicor. Otherwise, in my case, I'm going to go ahead and copy this link here. And if we were on the card holder's end and we were going into this URL that was emailed to us, it's going to take them to a form that looks like what you see here. This is hosted by EBizCharge. So again, nothing is getting locally hosted in your environment. We would brand it so it's got your logo up top so the customer's not seeing EBizCharge. And then they would simply key in their card info below and save that card. It does go through security code verification as well, so that way it makes sure that the card's at least good before it allows it to be pushed back into Epicor.
And it's a secure portal, right, Justin?
Exactly, yeah. It's hosted by the EBizCharge payment gateway, which has to go through regular, annual compliances and quarterly scans and stuff like that. So the other alternative is, if not just updating the credit card necessarily, but we want to allow the customer to actually pay their own invoices, which can be, synced right back into Epicor as well.
So Justin, we've got a question.
Yeah.
If the web entry page follows the customer language, so I'm assuming if we're sending the email to someone and they want their language in French versus Spanish versus English, is it going to automatically format to their language?
That is a good question. We're talking about so if you do the email from Epicor, I believe the email itself, just based on Epicor function, could maybe be verbiaged one way or the other. However, the payment page that we load, which asks for, card number, cardholder name, stuff like that, that's going to be a static page that it's using every time. So
and that's going to be in English.
Look into, and that would be in English generally. I mean, granted, we could have it in any language, right? But
right, yeah. All of these static pages that you're seeing, these are all templates that we host and create. So if you want that verbiage to be different language, we can absolutely make that for you. So it's doing it appropriately.
Yeah. So the other alternative to just getting the card updated would be allowing the customer to pay their own invoice themselves. So there's a couple different options for how you can have that function. The more popular solution would be the customer portal, especially if you have a lot of repeat clients or people that may have multiple invoices outstanding in a month. They can log into this portal, they can pay any of their open invoices, manage their own credit cards, view payment history, stuff like that. The alternative to that is a more simplified form, which is an email pay, where it basically sends them a one-time link for a specific invoice amount to be paid. So all they do is enter card info, but they don't have multiple invoices or payment history or storing cards or anything like that quite available. So the way that they would both work, inside of this EBizCharge window here, there is a tab for the customer portal invoice sync. We can either automate it to automatically sync all invoices, which is probably what most people would do, and then you just notify whatever customers you do or don't want to have access. Likewise, we could make it a process where you actually look up invoices that you would want to sync using standard Epicor search function, and then you could manually upload these invoices yourself if you wanted to do something like this and then hit upload. It has the same function for downloading payments that you'd retrieve, which would be a standard end of day process usually. Someone just comes in here to the download, clicks retrieve, and it would show them if there were any new customer payments since the last time they did this. So this one has no payments right now, it looks like. Or it's got a few. Okay. So just one invoice had a problem. So it would show you this, all of the successful payments that are ready to download. If there's any issue, you'd get a pop-up, sort of like what I just had. And then all you'd really have to do is hit apply, and that would create the cash receipts inside of Epicor. So this would sort of be like an end-of-day process as payments are coming through. Now, what the customer sees in this flow. So you can have automatic emails triggered from the EBizCharge system notifying customers when an invoice is uploaded. For a lot of merchants, though, if they're doing the auto sync, they will just send their own email notifications or put a link on their website, something like that, about the ability to pay. So that way they have a little control over it. The URL address for customers, the extension of this would be whatever you would like, right? Your company name, abbreviation, something like that. So we would have the site branded with the logo, the payment image on the left can be swapped out. And you could obviously take that link and embed it in, maybe statement notifications you send people, the invoice itself, your website, whatever you'd want to do with it. So when the card holders get here, they basically have the ability to create their own account, which would have them verify a couple pieces of info and then set up login, like username and password. If anybody has issues, you guys would have access yourself to just create logins for people as well, if that was easier. So I actually have, I think, some of our test logins here. So let me show you what it would look like. So when a customer signs in, the interface that they're going to generally see looks like this, but it would have a different logo, obviously, up top. It would have your logo or whatever company logo you want to use. And then down below, they'd have a list of any of the invoices that were uploaded. So they could select and pay, multiple invoices if they wanted to. You can allow partial payments optionally if you wanted to do something like that, or we can always lock that type of function. When the customer comes to pay by credit card, they key in their card info, or they would have the ability to save cards on file. This is excessive, but they'd have, maybe a few cards here. So customers can also manage their payment methods, so they could add a new card here to use for future payment. And it does communicate back to Epicor, so you would then have those cards available in Epicor as well. So it works as a good way to get updated card info as well as payments. When a customer runs the charge, it'll tell them approved. They can print, email this, whatever they like. We could have it either email you internally in real time as payments are coming through. So it would tell you like the date, time, invoice, customer, stuff like that. Or what a lot of people do, because they don't want all the emails, is the payment gateway of EBizCharge, which is the site that you have access to here. Every transaction within a batch settlement would be labeled if it was done in Epicor or the customer portal. So then that would be another way to tell, who paid in the customer portal for any given day. They do have access to reports like payment history, invoice list, stuff like that. They can change their password if they wanted to. Otherwise, most people would just log out once they've done the payment. So then as you're getting notifications, or again, just as an end-of-day process, someone would go into Epicor and run that download utility that I showed you a couple minutes ago. So this was the actual customer portal where someone has to log in. The alternative to that, if you did the simplified email payment form, same concept. You send them a link, they click on it, but it would take them to a page that looks like this. It would have your logo up top. The invoice detail would be preset to whatever specific invoice you sent them the request for. And then they would have to key in their card info and hit pay now. So it's much more simplified, but it's not always ideal for someone that has, multiple invoices on a regular basis or something like that. So that's kind of the concept and the function of how either one of those solutions would work. Any questions regarding the customer portal side or the payment page? Okay. I think it sounds like we're probably got that. Do we want to look at the gateway report side at all, Matt, or are we not as concerned with that right now?
We can definitely show email pay.
We did that as well.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Yeah, the gateway side, like the back-end reports. Did we want to look at that, or are we not as?
No, I don't think we need to look at that. That's more of like an individual thing. So we have another question on here. Okay. Is it possible to integrate EBizCharge into our existing company website? So yes, absolutely. EBizCharge already today integrates to a ton of online shopping cart platforms, but we do have our own API. So if you have a custom cart and you wanted to put it on your website, we can absolutely do that. We do work with Part Trap already. So for those of you who are using the Part Trap website integrated with Epicor, we already work with that. We already integrate to Magento and ECC. So for those of you that are looking or have a Magento site or are using ECC and want to have the website communicate with Epicor, pull the credit card authorization and token along through, our system does that as well. We've got a number of Epicor customers, so we have plenty of references for those of you that would like to talk to them first. But yes, you can absolutely use your own website and work with and we can work with it. Yeah, so that shouldn't be a problem. Here we go. The credit card info. Do we need to keep in Epicor? We rather not. So no. So our system utilizes tokenization. So it doesn't actually store the info inside of Epicor. It only stores those reference coins or those tokens. If you do not want to even store the tokens inside of Epicor, that's an option also. Like if you're getting one-time purchase cards that are never going to be used again and it'd be pointless to save it for that customer, you can elect to not have those tokens stored if you want as well. And on that topic, you can store as many cards as you want per customer. There's no limit. That functionality is all built in. These are all really good questions. Does it work for both AR and AP or bank transfers? So today, our solution is mainly a receivables option. We are actually looking at becoming a full accounts receivable payable solution. So that's kind of a future desire of ours. So we don't do accounts payable. You can't pay vendors through us. You can only accept payments. But on that note, we do have electronic check and ACH as a receivable option through both our email pay and our online payment portal as options for you to accept payments that way as well. Good question. Any other questions? Calvin, Fred, how are we doing on time?
You guys are doing totally fine. You got one more minute. Just kidding. There's 11 minutes left for you guys. This is open Q&A time right now. Have fun.
Great. Okay, yeah, please keep the questions coming.
Hey, Justin, I'll be sending you my bank account and routing number after the meeting.
All right. What has to happen with EBizCharge when upgrading Epicor? Great question. So there's obviously a ton of different versions. We integrate with Epicor 9 all the way up to the latest and greatest, and that includes the cloud, right? So we're always up to the latest versions. For those of you that are upgrading from 9 to 10 or 10.1 to 10.2, we do ask that you let us know so that if our integration does need to be updated, it gives us the opportunity to do that. But that's all a part of the service and package that you get with us. Whatever version you're going to or you're on, we will give that installation package to you, or rather we will install it for you and get it up to whatever version you're using. So it's pretty easy to migrate to different versions with our product because we take care of it and we do everything. So good question. What other, Justin, what are other common questions we typically get when we're doing Epicor demos?
Yeah, I think a lot of it we've covered. There's always the PCI compliance questions as far as the card storage, just to explain how secure it is.
Can you kind of talk about implementation? So what does that install process look like? What fields do we touch? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, so in regards to the implementation, what we would usually do is schedule a time. We have our own in-house Epicor developer, so we're not outsourcing anything, and he'll usually connect in with you as long as we have administrative access to your Epicor database to do the actual file merges over, and you guys could be involved in the process as we do that. I'm not the straight developer, so I can't tell you exactly what files we're touching, but we could always send you a list of something like that ahead of time. And in most cases, we would always be installing to a test environment first, so whatever kind of staging environment you have. In regards to the actual configuration, when we go through the setup, we'll always schedule a time to go through training and how you kind of want some of the functionality to occur. So if we go look at our EBizCharge maintenance window really quick here.
So Justin, when we went live, you guys brought us live, imported the solutions directly into the software, updated the user codes that were needed for the drop-down boxes. We were up and going in less than an hour.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I would say it was more work on our bookkeepers to go in and get the customers set up. Afterwards, getting the software set up, that went really quick and easy.
Yeah, okay, good. And the credit card configuration here is probably what we had gone through with you previously. This is where you can define like where you want, credit card payments to post and everything, just so the accounting department's aware. Things like automated email receipts, if you're going to use the customer portal or email payment functions. You guys also have some security options in regards to like the security code or address verification being required through here as well. So some additional options, right? Pre-authorization padding. I don't know if that would be applicable, but different things.
Yeah,
we can
convenience
configure,
charge
to that extent.
Yeah, yep. How long we're going to allow the authorization to hold. All those are settings that are able to be controlled to, really fit any kind of a model, whatever you guys want to do.
And as for your the fields that you guys use, at least for us, you had sent out a questionnaire beforehand saying, here's the fields that we intend to use. If any of these are in use, let us know and you can adjust accordingly.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we're extremely careful about what we're touching in Epicor to make sure that we're not going to break your system or everything's going to play nicely together at on the highest priority scale. So we got another question. Are there any transaction charges, commission, or hidden charges when payment happens? So again, there's no like per transaction sort of costs that are associated with the software, the product itself. You would end up using us as your payment services vendor, right? So there would be costs associated with that, which we would have to again have our finance team analyze some of your current statements to deliver that to you. But no, like I said earlier, the only cost for the product itself, again, it's got a sticker of $1,500 as a one-time cost and an annual maintenance of $300. But again, those costs right now are not being charged, being completely absorbed during this coronavirus timeframe. So there literally isn't a cost for the software, the solution, or whatever features you decide to use or turn on or turn off. Can't say it too many different ways. there aren't any costs associated with it right now. Just you only pay for the actual processing services. And again, we have yet to run across a customer who we have quoted or charged more than whatever they're currently charging. 99.9% of the time, they actually end up saving money on the fees that they pay.
So you're saying if they take credit cards now, moving over to you is going to be a lower cost and an embedded.
It's literally a negative cost investment. Yeah, it's a negative cost investment. We're gonna. I hate to say it like this, but we're gonna pay you to use our product.
Okay. I don't think anybody can compete with that one.
Well, anyway, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Unless anyone has any final questions, thank you very much for hosting and having us. If anyone's got any PCI security related questions, we're happy to address those separately. Is it supported in the Middle East? So from a currency standpoint, again, we have recently engaged with a global currency gateway. So I would assume that the answer to that would be yes, but I couldn't say specifically. So if I could get your information separately, I'm happy to check on that specifically and get you that answer. But yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't. But we have another question here from Greg. When we evaluated EBizCharge, I found it interesting that their customizations are in virtualization layers, so our own customizations could remain the same and just get layered over their customizations. Yeah, thank you very much for saying that, Greg. I appreciate that. Yep, we're very lucky to have the development and support staff that we do. They're very, very good in how they accomplish what they accomplish. So anyway, thank you again, everybody. Thanks, Calvin and Fred, for letting us do this. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, guys. And
No problem.
you're 3 minutes early and still did the demo.
Look at that. On time, under budget.
Exactly. Hey, it's negative cost, you said.